Notice the first thing that Paul says here is that when you came to know Christ, you started to learn what was true and right. He uses words learned, heard, taught, truth, taught again. Notice the emphasis here. Paul's saying that to become a new person, the starting point is a new way of thinking, a new mind, a transformed beliefs and values. And it says here that you learned these things when you learned about Christ. When you first heard about Jesus, what was the message that you heard? We hopefully heard about forgiveness of sins and new life and forgiveness and the hope we have in heaven. But if that's all we heard, then that's actually not the full message. Paul says you didn't just learn about being saved, that learning about Christ is also learning about becoming a new person and living in a new way, totally different from what you lived before. And that's what he goes on to describe here. When you learned about Christ, you should have learned it's not just about getting a passport into heaven, but it's about becoming a brand new person. And what does that brand new person look like? Well, this is what he describes here. And the first thing, as I said, is having a new way of thinking. In verse 23, it says, to be made new in the attitude of your minds. Changed lives start with a changed way of thinking. God starts to change our lives when we hear the truth of the gospel, when we understand who God is and what is right and what is wrong. And it's as if when you come to know Christ, God takes a rag and he wipes that dirty window and he makes the mind you're clear so you can start to see again what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false. Notice in verse 23, it says, be made new. It doesn't say make yourself new. It says be made new. In other words, you don't do it yourself. God does it for you. And yet it's also a command. So how can it could be a command to let someone else do it for you? God will make your thinking new. What are we commanded to do? We're commanded to work in cooperation with God to let him change our way of thinking, to grow in knowledge, to open ourselves up to hear and know what is true. And for those of you who were with us yesterday, some of this will be a little bit of a revision, a repeat. But basically it's saying we need to expose ourselves to the truth of God's word. We need to be willing to listen and hear and read what God has told us that is true.